Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay, and I'm here to tell you about my sponsor, W Energy. Now, what is W Energy? Well, I'm going to tell you because I myself use W Energy. Here I've got this Calio cream. It's got a great flavor to it, and not only that, it is clean energy. Energy that's not going to make you crash, not give you the jitters. I've been looking for a reason to drop all my old energy drinks that were unhealthy for me. Too much additives, too much trash in it, too much stuff that's going to make you crash, make you fall asleep at the end of the day. Not W. So how can you get your hands on some W to try? I'm going to tell you how. And I'm going to tell you how to save some money while you do it. Go to www.w.gg and at checkout, type in my new promo code, and it is Who Else? That's right. The promo code at www.w.gg is Who Else? Because, hey, who else but me, your boy Jay? I wouldn't steer you wrong, right? And when you do, make sure you tag your boy. Let me know you got some, you tried it, and I know you're going to love it. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest is the very talented Brian Foster. This guy has got video editing skills I can only dream of having. For two reasons. Number one, I don't have the patience to learn because this shit, what you see like throughout this show, this is my cap. And not like no cap, like the children say these days. Like, this is as good as it gets for me. Because again, I don't have the patience to learn. But even if I did have the patience to learn, I just don't have the talent like a guy like Brian Foster does to pull off this kind of stuff. It's not as easy as just clicking buttons. Like, there's a lot of stuff that goes into this, and he is a master at it, an absolute master. One of the best I've seen, and I'm not saying that because he's on the show. It's the truth. Go look at his material if you don't believe me. One of the best in the game, and it was great to have the opportunity to talk to him. But I've got a couple of things I want to say before we start today's show. First and foremost being, I said last week I was going to address the Tennessee Titans and the job that they did. At this point, as of this recording, I've only watched week one. So as of week one, they did exactly what I knew they would do and choke. I didn't even watch the last quarter because of what was happening. Tennessee Titans, and look, I know there was a lot of teams out there over the opening weekend that choked really hard. The Bengals being one of them. But I don't even get into that because last time I did, I got hoodooed to death. But the Titans have always been a team that when they're in a position that they could win and should win and are going to win, they will find a way to fuck it up. It's always been that way. It will always be that way. It's been that way my entire life. Look, my very first Titans game was when the Colts went 0-14 one year, and it was time for the Titans to play in Indianapolis, and being 2 hours away from Indianapolis, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go. This is a surefire win situation for my very first NFL game. Yeah, they lost. Gave the Colts the first win of their season. They only won 2 games that year. First one was against the Titans. So I'm kind of used to it at this point, but after this MLB season and seeing the Reds suck as bad as they did, to turn around and have the way the Titans started off this year shouldn't surprise me and shouldn't anger me, but it fucking does anyway. So there's that. And then also, I would like to remind you, I started a brand new Patreon account. And if you don't know what Patreon is, it's a way that I can interact with the people that follow this show without the algorithm mess when it comes to social media. So if you would like to, please go to www.patreon.com/TheRoseShowPod. That's very important. /TheRoseShowPod. And join. It's absolutely free. I'm not charging anyone for this. And granted, full disclosure, at some point we will do membership tiers, but I'm nowhere there. I want to be able to offer somebody something other than just, hey, join, and I want to charge you for it. Like, I want to give something back if you're going to give me money to do this. So as of right now, until I get to that point, it's absolutely free. And it's the easiest way I get to send you direct updates to what's going on with the show, and I don't have to fight algorithms, whether it be on Facebook, X, Instagram, whatever it is you follow me on. So go to that site, Make sure you join. It's absolutely free, like I said. And not only that, you're going to get show announcements before anyone else. Case in point, last week's show with Santino Morello on episode 37. If you were on Patreon, you knew that was dropping before anyone else. When it comes to special events, like I've already announced a special event for next month on the Patreon account. If you have joined, you already know exactly what I'm talking about. If not, go there, join. It's going to be special stuff like that, including bonus content. Plenty of bonus content's coming your way that's not going to be posted on anywhere else except my Patreon account. So please, by all means, go and join. And if you haven't, whatever you're watching this on right now, please join and subscribe because it helps me every time you do. Even if it seems minuscule to you, trust me, it matters in the grand scheme of things. So thank you if you have. I appreciate it. And I'm sure if you're on your way to do it now, I appreciate it even more so because that means that you are at least invested in this show enough to go make the trip over there and click join free. So thank you very much. Enough of my babbling. Here's a word from my sponsor and then a dive into the look of Brian Foster. Here we go, y'all. All right, everybody, it's time to stop and let you know about today's sponsor of the show, Crazy Martin's in Piqua, Ohio, one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to. Crazy Martin's has provided their customers with quality products for over 20 years, from ashtrays to water pipes and everything in between. Stop in, check out their selection, and of course, check out their pinball machines. With over 20 pins to choose from, there is something for everyone. Crazy since 1996. I don't just say this about every place. I love going to Crazy Martin's. I've always loved going to Crazy Martin's ever since I was of age to go to Crazy Martin's. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. Me and my wife go there almost every Sunday to play pinball machines. It is one of the funnest spots in Ohio you could possibly find. It is in Piqua, Ohio. Check out their website at www.crazymartins.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, my guest, I first met on the set of the Psycho Screwjob music video that he did for LLE. He shot the whole thing, and I guess you could also say he directed it because he was all over the place telling us where, he wanted us to be. And that's where I first got to know, oh man, this guy's got some talent and he knows what he's doing, which lethal combo right there. He does it all, not only music videos. I've seen some of his work on his page. He's done some commercials and overall, just a media mogul, if you will. Very good with the effects. And we'll get into all that here in a little bit. But first, his name is Brian Foster of We Are Media. My friend, how we doing today, brother?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. The hell of an intro. I like it.
Hey, that's what I do, man.
I
It's
know that's
it's
right.
it's funny because it's so weird. Like I get into this mode where like it's like the carnival barker. Like I think that's what I was. If there were previous lives, I guarantee you I was a carnival barker. I don't know. It's just weird. One of the reasons why I wanted to talk to you today, when I first met you, you were directing, as I said in the intro, the Psycho Screwjob music video. And I am somebody who I sit back and I watch people as they work, mainly because when I'm in situations like that, I am an extreme introvert, which I know is kind of contradictory considering what I'm doing here, which is basically pouring my life out to the entire world for anybody to watch. But I'm a super big introvert. But not only that, I like watching people work, especially when it's like the media side of things, whether it be music, recording videos, as we're talking about right now, anything, promoters. I just watch people and I observe how they act because I guess for lack of better words, it's kind of how I judge them. And the way that I saw you directing that video and how you shot, you brought a drone with you that, most people wouldn't think to bring with them indoors, and some of the ideas that you had, I was like, wow, this guy's got a lot of talent. And then upon further review, finding you on Facebook and seeing what you do, it's very clear that you have a lot of talent. But everybody starts somewhere. So kind of what I want to start at the very beginning of all this is I kind of want to get your background, kind of see what it was like for you as a little Brian and how you kind of built up to having an interest in media altogether.
Well, if we go too far back, there's going to be some trauma dumping, so we won't we won't go too far back. But I think that does play a role in why I like to create. I've always kind of felt a little outcasted. I've always kind of been my own circle,
Sure.
which gives me a strength in those kind of situations to where I'm like, it doesn't matter if I'm outcasted here anyway. I'm so used to it, so I can easily just one man band it, run around, do whatever I got to do. But I always found an outlet in creating. I grew up alone a lot, so I would write, I would draw, I would, anything I could do to create. Then I got into the music scene, so I could create my own music and stuff like that, and I liked that a lot. So I started engineering, and then I can create there, and then it's just a ladder. All of a sudden, I'm in the video space. I'm like, look, I can create here, and there's a lot of longevity in video. I could be 70 years old and still, direct films and
Yeah.
make music videos and whatever the calling is. So um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So you brought up trauma dumping, which is I love that word. It's started to become like more and more relevant in today's world because
yeah,
it's the perfect analogy for like people that are like expressing things maybe a little bit too much. But at the same token, I always have felt, and I'm not saying like, hey, let's go out and make sure kids are being bullied. That's not what I'm saying at all. I've always found the most creative people that I've found in life have either come from broken homes or have, like you said, had situations where they were alone. I know I was bullied as a kid. Um, I went from one summer, I went from being 5'6" and 240 pounds to 6 foot tall, 180 in one summer. So like before I hit that growth spurt, like I was always picked on because I was
right.
always a short, chubby kid. Now that shit ended the following summer.
Yeah, you
You,
go
you
you
know what
go
I'm
six
saying?
four, and people are like, "Hey, I better watch myself or they're on this guy," right?
Right, exactly. That shit ended up that summer, but that is still to this day like a lot of what inspires me to do some of the stuff that I do fearlessly as I do,
Right.
because it's like that trauma is what made me. So I don't necessarily, like I said, I'm not advocating for bullying. That's what I'm saying here at all. But I feel like some artists always have that kind of edge to them where it's like motivation by pain
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah.
Would you say that's accurate in your
I
case?
say that's 100% accurate. I've actually touched on that before about um, a lot of creators that if you're too normal, you won't be a good creator. It just doesn't work
Mm,
like that. Like if you have met
sure.
like a super normal, regular stand-up person, great parents, great household, and they'll make some music or something, like it's usually pretty terrible. So you
Yeah.
gotta you gotta be able to. It's almost like when you are so hyper vigilant, you almost have to read people well. So, you grow up in a fighting environment and you learn to read your environment. It's either that or die. So when you learn to read your environment, you learn to read people, and then you learn to see kind of what they like and what they don't like. And it's a double-sided coin, of course. Somebody gives you the wrong shoulder shrug, and instead of blowing it off, it kind of marinates with you. But
Right.
then again, you can release that pain through a creative outlet. So yeah, yeah, dude, you're 100% on the money.
Yeah, for sure. And that's another reason, one of the reasons why, and this isn't something I wanted to talk about, but hey, we're here. One of the reasons why I don't ever get mad at a band like Slipknot or Linkin Park in the latter years, like when people start going, oh, they've changed their sound. Well, yeah, they're not going to be pissed off forever.
Yeah,
Like and I mean this in the most, I mean this in the most respectful way. Like, but I think that's why Fred Durst has and Limp Bizkit always kind of kept their quote unquote edge because Fred Durst has always been a miserable prick. And if you know me, you know I love Limp Bizkit. I say that with the world's most respect. He is a miserable prick. He's still to this day doing shows complaining about people recording him while they're trying to perform. He's a miserable prick. All right,
yeah,
it's just the way it is. But bands, like I said, bands like a Slipknot, people, oh, they've gone soft. Well, yeah, they've gone soft. The struggle's gone.
yeah. Probably do a lot of healing.
Yeah, they've done a lot of healing, and that goes back to what you said. Like you've got to have a little bit of pain, or else it starts to get boring. So I'm not saying that people's critiques of those kind of situations aren't accurate, but there's a reason why most bands like that always are forced to play the hits. But
Yeah,
anyway, so
beautifully
so
said.
as you were talking about kind of how you got into first you got into music. Was it like underground rap, or what exactly was the kind of music you were into that spawned you into later doing the more media stuff?
Oh, I loved rap.
Okay.
I was like, I know when I grew up, in the environment we grew up in, it was kind of like a more gangster style rap. So,
Mm,
you got the Project Pats, and then, we would go through the Bone Thugs and these things I grew up with. So, um, at first we would just play around with it, and then we're like, hold on, we're kind of onto something here, and it felt good. Dare I say, it's so healing to express yourself. Especially when you had no other way to express yourself, you're like,
sure.
I could actually express myself in this way. But, nowadays, if I was to make music, it would probably be I'm a little older, so it'd probably be a little softer of the genre. I'm loving I know I'll probably get a lot of hate for this, but I really love what MGK does. I love how he kind of moved the come to the rock side of things because he reminds me a lot of myself. He had a lot of trauma too, so you can almost tell that he just wants to create, so he gets that singing side in him and stuff. And if I wanted to come back and create like that, I feel like that stuff has such a meaning to it, more so than just heavy rap.
Yeah. I
Um,
mean, hey, case in point, look at Jelly Roll. I mean, that Jelly Roll is always a fun example because I'm like, hey, say you listen to Jelly Roll, right? Yeah, I love Jelly Roll. How far back did you go?
yeah.
Because yes, if you went back to the album cover with him and Lil White where they like split in the face, like I don't think you did. I think you just became a Jelly Roll
I
fan.
got a
But
fun
at the
story
same,
about that actually.
oh,
Uh,
hey, go right ahead, go right
I
ahead.
was back in 2010. I did a song with Lil White, and we brought him out to the studio out on the west side of Indianapolis. And dude, they fucking loved me. Him and his manager, they were just so cool. And they were looking to start something, right? They were just starting white music. And they're like, man,
Mm,
we're looking for somebody down here, right? And so I didn't try to pressure it or anything. And at the end of the session, Party, Lil White's manager, he tries to slip me his card. He's like, "Hey, get a hold of me, man. I'd like to talk to you." And I was like, "Dude, that's fucking sick." But I had a manager at the time, big dorky dude, but he put money behind me and stuff like that. He kind of jumps in the way, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll take care of it." And Party's like, "Oh, no offense, but I'd like to talk to your artist." So, it felt like they wanted something
mm,
from me. You know what I mean? Which
yeah,
was super cool. Later on, my manager's like, "Look, they're a dying label. There's nothing they could do for you that you'd do for me. It would show your loyalty, da 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 da." And I'm like, "Well, you have been there for me. If you feel like I shouldn't pursue this, and you have a plan for me or whatever, I'm down with that." Later on, rest in peace. But they signed Brandon Pearson and B Peasy, and they went to and they made Snow. So it was Lil White, Jelly Roll, and Brandon Pearson. Brandon Pearson just right down the way is a friend we grew up with. So
yeah,
I mean, he's much deserving as well. But I feel like I almost had that shot in there to be with Lil White and Jelly Roll, and I smack myself every day because I fell out with that manager like a month later. So it was like, why didn't I just pursue this? It could have been that. Like, I'm not saying it was that, but I'm saying that
right,
it felt like it could have been something. So, which was
yeah, yeah.
cool, and it's still a story I could tell.
Sure. Yeah, you shut the door before you had the opportunity to even walk
Yeah.
through it,
I thought
basically.
I was
Yeah,
doing the
I know.
right thing. So,
Right, right,
yeah.
right. But hey, you can't be mad at that though because you did it out of loyalty. I was supposed to do God, which New Year's Evil was it? I don't. I think it was okay. It was 9. I was supposed to play New Year's Evil 9 because Menace to Sobriety at that point had, I think we were like right underneath the main package, and we were supposed to go on right before Jelly Roll. And if you remember that New Year's Evil, he had actually made a post. It was like, "Hey, I know I was supposed to be here, but probation officer won't let me go, even though it's New Year's Eve." Blah blah blah. So he never came. They ended up replacing him with Haystack. I don't know if a whole lot of
Yuck.
people really remember who he was or not, but yeah, they ended up replacing him last minute with Haystacks. But I still tell people like I was supposed to play a show with Jelly Roll.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
even I
I
don't
still
care.
got to open up for him a few times. I opened up for Jelly Roll probably 5 times
Hell yeah,
back
good
in my
shit,
rap
good shit.
days. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's always been a great dude. Like he stayed around and waited and talked to everybody afterwards, and like
Yeah.
he wasn't as big as he is now, but he was still way bigger than all of us, and he was still dumb cool with everybody. Like
Yeah.
he's always been such a humble guy, man, and that's why I celebrate his wins so much. So
Yeah.
great guy.
I don't think anybody really is probably too upset that he got, as big as he did. And not only that, he's one of the few people in this industry that anybody that's ever interacted with him have all said the same thing. Like, man, what a cool dude.
Yeah.
I think the only time I ever saw him pissed was when he felt like he was getting fucked over by psychopathic a couple years ago when it came to them trying to I think they were trying to like group him into the list of people they weren't coming to the gather weren't having to come to the gathering anymore because he had done some stuff with M&E and he called him out publicly. But yeah, other than that, like I don't know anybody that's ever said a bad word for him. And you see him like you see him on these country shows and it is what it is, but like I get to see him in wrestling as well, being a wrestling fan, and he's been
Yeah.
doing back and forth. He's been on WWE television for the last couple months, and he just got physical in the ring and at SummerSlam. And it's like, man, this dude is just, you talk about a dude that's living life to the fullest. And he did it his way. I think
Yeah.
that's what's so admirable about it. He did it without having to
Yeah.
sign to a record label.
He nailed it,
It's
dude.
crazy.
That's what we
Yeah.
all want to be. So,
Mhm.
what all of us artists strive to do right there is what
Yeah.
he's doing. And that's
Yeah.
if anybody says a bad word on it, man, they're haters at that point because it's a beautiful story, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, well, back to a little bit to your story here. So, you ended up doing the whole rap thing. I know most people that get into the media side were in music beforehand, like myself. One of the reasons why I started to learn how to edit videos and do all that kind of stuff that I did, even on the basic level, was because Menace to Sobriety was in a weird spot when I joined, and we were trying to cut cost measures as much as possible. So I ended up doing a lot of the promo packages that they were paying other people to do, and I taught myself how to do that. Is that how you started to get into media, or was it a whole nother way in incomplete?
Well, I just kind of started dabbling, making skits and stuff. I started doing that before I could, remember. So we would just play around and make skits and stuff. And I kind of just got decent at it. So, you keep going at it and then it becomes a hobby. And then that hobby, people start hitting you up and they're like, hey, will you do this for me and do this for me? And
Yeah.
you're like, holy shit, I can make a living off of this. And then a few years later, you're like, damn, I'm booked full time. This is crazy. So it was such a humble start. I never wanted to come in and do that. It kind of just happened. So
Yeah. Did you have any challenges while you were trying to teach yourself? Like, was there any real roadblocks? Like, for me, it was always like I was always stuck on the basics when it came to like advanced Photoshop and stuff like that. Like, I just this year, since I started having to do this podcast and making my own images where I have to rip people off of like cleanly rip people off their own images, this year I just got hip to the lasso tool. Like, and I've always struggled with like more advanced techniques when it comes to stuff like that. Did you find that to be the case, or did you pick everything up kind of naturally?
fuck
Because some people
yeah,
just
dude. I
do.
still learn to this day. I'm learning
Yeah,
all the time, man. All new techniques, and then you got to keep up with the trends too. So there's always going to be that learning curve. I feel like the people who are really advanced in it are the people with the growth mindset that are always willing to come in and learn a little bit more. It's as soon as you're like, I got this and I know this, and that's when you screw yourself because it's such
yeah,
an evolving game, and you have to always evolve with it. I think my biggest challenge is with video is my mental health. To be honest with you, it's hard to keep up with people, and then
yeah,
sometimes you kind of let your judgment get in the way of your business. So, if you feel any kind of way about somebody, most people would just do it for the business, suck it up and let the business go. And I've not always been capable of that.
yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Is there any specific programs you like to use more than others? Because, like, I know again, and this is another challenge. I find a program I like. I stick to it. I don't upgrade it. I don't do none of that shit. Do you
Same,
find
man.
yourself doing the
Yeah,
same way? You're the
I'm an
same way.
Adobe guy. Like,
Yes.
give me Adobe, and that's all I want. Don't put me in no Da Vinci or none of that shit. I just give me fucking Adobe, and we'll run with that.
Man, I think right now I'm running Sony Vegas 15,
So I started
and
on
I know.
Vegas.
Yes, ta-da! Case in point.
It crashed my computer so hard one time, burnt up my motherboard, and I never went back.
Oh
Yeah,
man, that's too bad. That's too
yeah.
bad. Yeah, just for some reason I'm just comfortable with that. That was the one program that the lead singer slash owner of Menace to Sobriety had. He had Sony Vegas 15, and he had no idea how to run it. So he was like, here. So I just dabbled with it. So now that's what I've like, I'm afraid to upgrade at this point because they're gonna change so much of what I like. But yeah,
You know, the fundamentals are pretty much the same in these. It's as soon as you learn the button configuration and stuff, the fundamentals are all the same. You're still going to do the same stuff, you know. So,
yeah, yeah, sure. How about the actual shooting aspect? Was there anything? And granted, technology has moved in the last 10 years so fast as far as like I think people forget it wasn't what 15 years ago people were using flip phones. You
yeah,
know, now we've got these amazing five camera phones, here, you know what I'm saying? People forget that just how much technology has progressed in the last 15 years.
right.
What has there been any challenges as far as the shooting aspect goes, whether it be the equipment side, techniques or anything like that?
Well, yeah, it's just hard to keep up with the equipment, you know.
Yeah.
Even the cheap stuff is expensive. So if you're one like I still don't have enough experience with like Reds and Aries and stuff like that. And some people start with those things, you know, and I'm like, bro, I started with my phone.
Yeah.
I haven't advanced there. I had to take the long road. So that's always a challenge. Equipment is always a challenge. Learning new strategies is always a challenge. Like I said, such an evolving game. You just have to keep the mindset that you have to grow all the time. So, and
Yeah.
that's a big reason why I love video is because how much it keeps me on my toes. Like I don't want to be stagnant or feel like I'm stuck in somewhere. If I could just continue to grow, continue to create, I think that's where I want to be.
Yeah. And that's a good point too, because like you said, it's always evolving. I cannot count the amount of times where I'm like, wow, how much better could this possibly get? And every single time I'm proven wrong. It's the same thing with like video game systems. I think PlayStation 2, we were like, there's no way these little box figures that were like hit like this. There's no way that the graphics could ever get better.
Right,
Now I'm watching commercials and I'm trying to play like, is this real footage or a video game for some of these
right.
commercials? It's crazy. Uh
Just imagine what
as
it'd be
far
like in
as
the next 10 years. You know?
Oh, dude, right, yeah, and it just keeps getting better, it keeps getting
Yeah.
better. Have you has there been any technique where you found, like, there's just this roadblock, I can't do it, or anything like that? Is there one kinda actual shooting technique that you've never been able to nail, or has there been one where you were like, "I'll never get this," and you ended up getting it?
Green screen. I fucking hate green screen. I have such a hate relationship with that shit. It is just awful. It's hard to light. It's hard to make it look good. It's hard to blend it. I'm just not a green screen guy at all. I did shoot one of AXE's videos green screen. And that's, you know, thanks to Bill. He had all the faith in me. And I'm like, you know, Bill, he has his ways and he's stuck in his ways. And
Yeah.
he's like, nah, bro, we want a green screen. You gonna do that. And I'm like, I'm gonna warn you right now, I fucking suck at this. And he's like, no, you don't. He's like, no, you don't. Watch this. And the video came out sick. And I'm like, all right, bro. Thank you.
Well, speaking of AXE, how did you end up getting linked up with those guys?
Joe Christie, in the pit
Okay.
photography, a good friend of mine. He always had mentioned them, and I knew about them already. You know, they got a pretty big name. Um, but you know, we finally linked up, and it was love ever since. I ain't heard from him in a while now. I miss you guys. If you guys see this, uh, But yeah, Joe Christie linked me with them. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He does a lot of their photography in the pit photography. He's a great guy.
Joe has not only been on this show, but Joe is one of my favorite motherfuckers in the world. I
Yeah.
have so much respect for what he does out of his own time.
Yeah.
Completely out of his own time, going to all these different shows. The quality of photo
Yeah.
is unlike anyone else's. Like there's something about his shooting style that completely separates him from anyone
Yeah, he
else.
got his own
And I,
distinct
I it,
feature. Yeah.
yes, his own distinct feature to every single show. And whether it be wrestling, whether it be music, whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. And the fact that he is not doing this full time and making a living, the fact that he is not a number one go to touring artist photographer truly blows my mind. And that's just the actual media
I
aspect
don't
of
think
it.
he wants to
Him,
though. If you ever
but it
if you ever listen, he'll be like, I just want to be there for my people. It's like I
sure,
don't want to come
sure,
record your set. I don't want to shoot your set. I am here for LLE and that's it.
absolutely. But at the same time, I still think that's a blur because I think he's got so much talent in doing it. It's just like, man, I
It's
wish that
tough.
because
Yeah.
he's one of the few people that I will actually, he'll post 100 pictures. I will look at every single one. I don't
Nice.
do that for fucking anyone. I don't do that for my wife when she posts 3 pictures of our dog, but I'm looking through every single photo that Joe put out. And that's just the media side. The fact that, sorry, Joe, I'm sorry that we're kind of smooching you here virtually, but it's true. The Joe as a person is, I've never met one more genuine dude. Like I've never had to wonder where I stand with him. I've never seen him say a bad word about anybody that didn't deserve it. I've never seen him step on anybody's shoes. That's a pun for those who know. I've never seen him step on anybody's shoes and do anyone dirty. He's just a good dude. But how did you meet him? How did you and him
How
become
did I
friends?
meet Joe? Man, I've known Joe longer than I can remember. Um, huh, you know what? That's a good question because I don't know. I just know Joe.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
fair.
remember.
Have you
Um,
guys done any joint projects together?
we've done some weddings and stuff, and then when we're up there together, like the Camp Zool, we shoot together. He's in there doing the photography. I'm doing the video, and we always work well together. He's like, "Hey, bro, let me borrow SD card." I got you. It's my guy. So whatever he
Yeah.
needs.
Yeah. Hell yeah, good shit. Well, has there been any specific projects over your time doing media that really stick out in your brain of like, man, it could be like a project that meant something to you, something that came out way better, whatever it might be. Hell, it could be something bad. Is there any specific projects in the time you've been doing this that stick out in your mind more than the rest?
Well, I just did something with Sony, which was pretty cool. Sony Canada for one of
Hmm.
their upcoming artists. Um, they're pretty hard asses on what they want, and they ended up really loving the project. So that meant a lot to me, and it was really out of my element. So it'll be out by the
Hmm.
time this episode's out. And her name is Sacha. Um, a country artist from Canada. She's fucking amazing, dude. Like
Oh yeah.
top tier. She had all their people there to publish this. We're talking to the A&Rs. Like it felt like I was in something really cool. So I might have
Yeah.
that new video bias because it's one of my newer ones that I just did, but that really does stick out to me. I love that project a lot.
Oh yeah. Any others?
Let's see. Um, I just talked about this on the other podcast. I don't want to be on maybe some days nuts too much because I always talk about them, but I love this band so much. They're such good people. But I did a project called Silence with Maybe Someday. And I just really like how creative they were about it. They all brought these masks and then they made them to where they had lights in the eyes and stuff like that. So these lights are like beaming crazy all through the thing. So I don't know, it just really came out fucking sick. There's a lot of the AXE videos that come out crazy good.
Oh yeah.
The underground video, I really like how that one came out. Um, Man, I've done so many projects I don't know, I kind of just love what I do, so I could be
Yeah,
here all day just naming them all. So
yeah, sure.
that's why I say I got that new video bias. So whatever's my newest one is what the one I'm going to tell you about.
Hey, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Is there if there was anybody if anybody were to come and ask you, describe your shooting style to me, would you have an answer for something like that? Like if somebody's like, okay, how do you shoot? What would you say?
Describe my shooting style. Hmm. Man, that's a fucking good question because I've always felt really adaptive. Like,
Okay.
part of probably my trauma is I can just fit in wherever I need to be. It's kind of a camouflage. So when I'm like feeding off of the other person, it really just depends on what they're wanting. You know what I'm saying? So if my video style for AXE, for example, is going to be totally different from the video style I shoot with Sacha. So it's just kind of I I think I'm kind of an empath when it comes to that. So I want to take a feel for what we're doing, and then that would be the style in there. But I feel like I my biggest thing is just having a good, happy environment. As long as the vibes are good, I'm sure. Just call me the bubbly videographer. We'll
Yeah.
all smile and laugh and just fucking get it done.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I like that. Empathetic, adaptive shooting
Empathetic
style.
and
I like that.
adaptive. Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Empathetic,
Yeah,
adaptive.
I
I love
like that a
that.
lot. Yeah, there you go. You don't even have to credit me if you ever use that again.
Hey man, I'm
But
throwing
so,
that in the sizzle.
so you kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier. You said one of your biggest problems when it comes to shooting is just keeping up with the technology. Can we talk about that a little bit more? Because I don't think people quite realize. Again, I think what they do is they just pick up their phones and that whatever is the newest iPhone or Samsung, whatever it might be, that's just new technology for them, and that they just use it. Is what Go ahead and dive into a little bit as far as like the struggles of keeping up, because I don't think people quite understand like I do being on this end, but somebody watching this might not. So get a little bit further into what exactly you meant by that.
Well, like I said, I mean, even the cheap stuff is expensive. So if I come out with a $5,000 rig, which is probably my cap at the moment, um, somebody's gonna look at that and be like, dude, what is this shit? And then other people will look at that and be
Right.
like, dude, that's an amazing rig. So um you go to some sets, there's $500,000 worth of equipment in there, like
Yeah.
something I haven't fathomed yet. So it's every time there's just going to be a step up. But, luckily right now, technology is getting so good to where you can spend a couple grand on a camera and it's capable of shooting a movie. You're capable of
Yeah.
making amazing stuff. So that's luckily for us. Um, people like me that, I just don't have the $1 million budget or anything yet, but it's just always changing. There's always going to be a bigger, expensive, more expensive camera, but then you have to have the clientele to even run that. How could you justify a
Right.
$500,000 camera if you're getting $500 videos or
Yeah.
$1,000 videos? It doesn't make sense in the long run. So if and then, man, to really not to get gripey, but the phones are kind of killing it right now too. Like the phones
Yeah.
they're really good, but they're really good to the basic consumer, right?
Right.
So maybe they think that that's all they need, but a phone is still limited, and they do that on purpose. You might get an iPhone 15 and it might look amazing, but it's fake amazing. They put the fake
Yeah.
blur in the background, it's the fake dynamic range. If you zoom into anything, you can see all the flaws. And but it kind of kills us because people think that's all they need. And until you
Right.
got a cinematographer eye, you're like, bro, you got to step that up. Um,
Yeah.
you see like robotic arms out here, which I've never even got to use one. I want to use a robotic arm badly, and that's another struggle. Like how do I get my feet in there? How do I charge enough budget to be able to use these things and justify it to the artist? which I'm working
Right.
on it. Trust me, that's coming. It's just, a matter of time. So I hope I answered your question well. It's a tough
Yeah.
question. So
Yeah. No, and that's fair. You absolutely answered it. And one of the points you brought up that I think is a good one, because it's not the first time I've had this conversation. I had on this group called the Gorgeous Girls, and are an alternative modeling group. And they talk the whole time about how this right here is, people think, I'm a photographer. I've got my phone. No, you're not. And look, listen, I'm not trying to disparage anybody who does podcasts only on their phone. And there's different styles, and that's fine. But I work really hard on this, regardless if I'm going to get 2 plays or 200 or 2,000. And I've got multiple episodes already into thousands as we're recording this right now,
nice.
and I'm still in my first year. And the reason why I think that is because I take the time to not use this. Obviously, it's in my hand right now. I do it all on this laptop that was brand new bought for this, on this microphone that was brand new bought for this, with this HD webcam that was brand new bought for this project. Why? Because so many people don't do that.
Yeah,
It will separate me. So while I could do it with this, and again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with doing a podcast with your phone. What separates this show from other ones is the fact that I've got the better equipment, so to speak, and I take the time to put into this craft. I wholeheartedly believe I don't think it's a talent level thing. I think it's people with shitty audio, people with shitty video, and I've asked around a lot of people what they prefer. I make posts all the time. Hey, when it comes to glitches and stuff like that, granted, in podcasting, you could have the best equipment in the world. Some of the podcasters I listen to have, like you said, multiple thousands of dollars worth of equipment. They still have glitches in their shit. It's just the way that the game is
yeah.
this day with the internet connection. But people know the difference between an occasional glitch and shitty video, shitty audio.
Oh yeah,
I bring all that up. I bring all that up to complement what you were saying. It's the same thing. If you think you're a videographer or a photographer on your phone, you're not doing as well as you could be. It's exactly what you
yeah.
just said. That
Right.
is the difference. That's what separates you from everyone else. Anybody can pick this up and record something. Anyone, but you're not editing it. Putting a filter on it is not editing it. That is, I could not agree with you more. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, brother.
Races are won by inches, by the way. So, some
Mhm.
basketball championships are won by points, not blowouts.
Right.
So it's every little thing that counts. So just you having all this stuff and putting that into yourself does separate you. It really does.
Exactly. Yep.
Even your background, it separates you. You know what I mean? I probably didn't do my whole setup how I wanted to right now, but I'm not ready for the. I should have been a little more prepared for the over the phone connection, but my media will speak for itself later on because
Right.
yeah, I got
Yeah.
I got a few of the things and stuff. It's just not hooked up. I had to use the phone and all the whatnots and things, but
Right. But at the same time, what I'm going to do is after we get done with this, I'm going to clean up your audio. I'm going to clean up my audio, and it's not going to matter. It's not like we're just, I'm putting this out there
yeah, you're
raw.
not just
I'm
gonna
going
throw it
to
out there yet.
exactly. I'm going to edit it. I'm going to, if there are any clips, I'm going to spend some time fixing it. I think the Tom Arnold episode that I did, I had some really bad audio issues on my end. And while it might not have been something that bugged anyone else, like it bothered me. I
Yeah,
spent 2 days, 2 fucking days
yeah.
on this TV right next to me with the audio files completely zoomed in. So all you saw were the bare minimum WAV files. And you know what I'm talking about. For those who don't, the WAV files have an actual physical manifestation when you put them in to whatever audio or video software you're using to edit, and it shows actual wave lines. I zoomed in as close as possible. And every time I heard a glip, I took that bitch out. After I did that, if I could anyway, some of them I couldn't. So after I did that, I took all WAV files and put it into an audio cleaner. After I did that, I put it into Adobe Audition again to boost the treble. I
Nice.
spent 3 days almost when it was all said and done between the audio, which was 2 days, and then the complete, back end, which is the video aspect to it. 3 days editing this one episode.
I love that though.
Could have
It's
just,
good.
I could have just thrown it out there,
Right.
but I don't think it would be pushing almost 700 views right now if I did it.
Yeah,
So
yeah. You
as
you
you
got to
said,
do your own personal best. If you're not giving 100% effort, you're not learning. You can't. So
Exactly.
doesn't matter
Exactly.
how good you are, it just matters that you're putting the 100% effort in, and you know when the effort's in there. You'll know if
Right.
you're skipping steps or cutting corners. You'll know deep down
Yeah.
inside. Your subconscious is listening to all that. And that's what
Yeah.
I think about when I'm editing. Like I could easily cut this corner and nobody would ever know, but I do. And I
Yeah.
know
Right.
when I'm not giving it my 100%. And I get a lot of love for that. Like, man, you really got to give a shit factor is
Yeah.
something I've heard. And I'm like, that's because I care about me and I care about you. And I know if I'm not giving it 100%, I'm not doing myself or anybody else justice. And it
Yeah.
might not be, Travis Scott videos right now. It will be. But I'm saying it's like I am giving it my 100% effort each time, every time.
Yeah, sure. And again, just to be perfectly clear, we're not saying by any standard people who just do that stuff for fun, there's anything wrong with that. There's
No,
nothing wrong with
if
that
you
at
gotta
all.
start there, you fucking start there. You
Right.
start wherever the fuck
Exactly.
you gotta start at. You
Yes,
just make sure
exactly.
that you're giving that effort 100%, and I promise you, it'll end up boosting up. If you're going
Yeah.
into a podcast and you gotta start with your phones, start with your phones. But if you know that
Yes.
you're giving it 100%, then you're gonna end up investing in yourself. It's just
Yeah.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen
Yep. Yep.
automatically. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, in closing, first and foremost, again, I want to reiterate to what I was saying at the beginning. I think you're a super talented dude.
Thank you.
Ever since we've met, I've followed you on Facebook and I've watched what you do. I know how much effort it does to do stuff like this on a small level that I'm on when it comes to the video editing process. This is peanuts compared to what you do, and it takes me this
I
long.
wouldn't say that.
So
This
I've
is amazing. I don't even know how this works right here. This is cool as hell.
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I just, I can't do, I know I've got a cap when it comes to video editing. All the shit that you're able to do, I can't. And I don't have, because I don't have the patience for it. So when I see somebody that, I don't have, let me back it up. I don't have the patience to learn. So when I see somebody who has put in that time, man, I got so much respect because I know the amount of effort that it takes and talent, by the way, talent and effort it takes to get to do what you're able to do. So I at least wanted to throw that out there. And
Thank you.
as always, I'm going to hand the last couple of minutes over to you. If there's any socials, any upcoming projects, whatever it might be coming up, the floor is yours, my man.
All right. There is one specific thing I want to put out there, and I have been busting my ass on a feature film, my first feature film. It's called Marijuambies. It's about a weed dealer who accidentally sells poison weed that turns his customers into zombies. It's actually really clever. There's a good story circle on there. You guys can find it on Facebook. We've been trying to get the TikTok rolling without getting banned on there. We've got the X rolling now, but really we put it mostly on Facebook because they're pretty 420 friendly on there. So, we do a lot on there. And I've been working on this movie for 2 fucking years. So if you guys
Mm.
would just come and show some love to your local supporter, and that's where I want to plug right now. Or if you need a music video, that's my bread and butter. So please feel free to hit me up for a music video. I look out. I'm not Hollywood or anything like that. I have a good price range, and I work with a little bit of every budget. So you just come to me with a budget, maybe an idea and a budget. That'd be preferable, and we'll get you cooking. Just be respectful, and I'll work with you.
Oh, sounds good. Hey, Brian, thanks for being on with me today, my man. I appreciate it.
Hey, no, thank you, bro. I really appreciate you, and you're great at this, by the way. Good job, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I mean a lot to me, man. Seriously. All right, then.